Hello everyone, welcome to my channel and I thank you for your continuous support. Whatever brought you here to my blog, to my channel, I really appreciate you being here. And I hope that you enjoy my writing as well as my videos. So today I want to talk about English language proficiency test. There are a few out there such as TOEFL, IELTS, and a few others. I'm only really familiar with TOEFL. I've done TOEFL recently and I scored quite well for TOEFL. The result for TOEFL has a few different uses. The reason of me taking TOEFL is that I am preparing for my graduate studies overseas. Despite the fact that I completed my high school and university degree in English, it is still required of me to take the TOEFL test to prove my English proficiency. I had about 2 weeks to study for the test. I downloaded a few preparation materials on the internet. There are books and listening materials. I think I possibly read over 1,500 pages in the last 2 weeks, and I've listened to close to 100 listening materials as well. On the TOEFL registration website, it informed me that it will take about 10 business days for the results to be available. So I was preparing to get my results maybe next week, but last night before I went to bed, I checked my email one last time and TOEFL informed me that my test score was available online, and I was shaking, I was nervous, and I was very pleased with the result. So the result I got was 112 over 120, meaning that I lost about 8 marks, which is not too bad. Some of you may know that TOEFL consists of 4 different sections. So that's reading, listening, speaking, and writing. For reading and listening, I scored 30 out of 30. And for speaking, I scored 28 out of 30, which is alright. And for writing, I scored 24 out of 30. And the total gave me quite a high score. I was very pleased because a lot of the graduate programs that I'm looking at requires about 103 or 107, and for each section it requires over 22. So I was quite worried that what if I don't make the cut? Yeah, but I'm very pleased, and in this video today, I want to share a few tips on how to prepare for the test and what you can do to get a higher score. Actually, the day before my test, I decided to go on YouTube and watch a few videos, and this lady, she speaks several different languages, but her mother tongue is not English. She did an amazing video on how to score higher in TOEFL. I think she scored 117 out of 120, which is amazing. I watched her video and I took down a lot of tips, and I actually used quite a few of them in the test, and they definitely helped me. Some of you might have written TOEFL before, but like me, myself, I've never written TOEFL. I did not know what to expect. I got lost trying to find the test center. So I thought I'd share with you what to expect on the day. If you are not a citizen of the country that you are writing the test in, rather take all the IDs that you have, or the passport that you have, even a credit card, because they require a document that has your signature on it and the expiration date. One tip I could give to everyone is that try to check in as early as you can. My test is supposed to start at 9. I arrived around about 8 o'clock, and check-in starts around about 8:30. So I was the first one to check in. I checked in and I started about 10 minutes or 20 minutes after I started. Other people start to check in, so they started quite a bit later than I did. And I find that if you check in early, That means you can start your speaking section before anybody else. This is how the break works. So you do your reading and listening section and you get a 10-minute break before your speaking section. If you check in early, that means you can, when you come back from the break, you'll be the first person to start the speaking section. And once you're done with your speaking section, that's when other people start their speaking section. So that means when you're doing your speaking section, you are probably not disturbed by other people trying to speak. That's what I find really helped. I know it's probably not very nice for other people because they are probably doing the listening section while I was speaking, but I did check in early and I was able to start early. And another tip that I can give is when you start the test, give yourself a moment just to close your eyes and breathe and don't think about anything else. Leave everything else in your life behind and just completely focus on the test. Okay, I want to speak a little bit about test preparation. As I said, I had 2 weeks to prepare for the test, which means I spend about 4 hours minimum every day to study for the test. Firstly, I went online to see how the test was structured to familiarize myself with it. I started with the reading section, so I did a lot of practice reading and mock tests, and then I went on to listening and then speaking and then writing, so in the same order as the test. For the reading section, in the actual test, I remember they gave me 3 or 4 reading materials, and usually the topic will be on science, art, business management, architecture. I have completed a science medical degree, so I'm quite familiar with the science and medical topics. So when I was preparing for the test, I was going through the different reading materials. I sifted these articles out. I focused on the topics that I am not familiar with, such as art, architecture, finance, things like that, so that I can get myself more familiar with the terminology, the lingos, and I find that the mock test really help because you get to understand how they ask the questions. And another tip I could give when you're studying is to actually try to study in an area that with noises, with distractions, so that you can train yourself to be focused when you are reading or listening, because there are distractions during the test on the day. So what I did was I chose to study in the lounge. So there are family members walking around, they're cooking, they're joking, laughing, watching the TV. So I trained myself to be more focused. So I have quite a few tips for the actual test. Let's start with the reading section. You will have some time to read article. There's a few articles, but for each article you will have some time to read it, and then there will be about 12 questions on the article. What I find is that when you're reading, try not to spend too much time reading it. Try to skim through it, understand what each paragraph is about, and then just get an idea of what the article is about, because when they give you the questions will be in the order of the article. For example, the first question would be on the first paragraph, the second question might be on the second paragraph, third question might be on the last bit of the second paragraph, etc. So that's quite user-friendly, if I can put it that way. Another tip that I got from watching another YouTube video, which really helped me, is when you are looking for an answer in a paragraph, the moment you find the answer, stop searching, because if you continue reading, you might find more ambiguous descriptions, examples that might just confuse you, and then you might want to choose another answer. So stop reading the paragraph the moment you find the answer in the paragraph. The next section is listening section. For the listening section, you will listen to a conversation between a lecturer and a student, or between two students, or you will listen and you listen to a lecture on a specific topic. I think there's 3 or 4 listening materials you have to listen. For each listening material, you get a few questions, and each question, and there's a time limit for you to answer it. One tip that I can give you is that when you are listening to the material, rather close your eyes, because on the screen they will show you different images that supposedly is related to the listening material, but it's actually just for example, a lecturer standing in front of a lecture room, or a student smiling or something like that. But it can be really distracting if you are easily distracted. So what I did was I closed my eyes, I listened very attentively, and if I had if I wanted to make notes, I just make it quickly. I just open my eyes quickly and write down what I needed to write down. Speaking of taking notes, when you are reading or when you're listening, try not to make too much notes. I think I made too much notes, and that took a lot of time. You can't retain the message 100% while you're taking down notes. However, when you're listening, don't skip details. For one question, I was actually confident that I lost a mark because I did not hear the detail. I just guessed the answer. So try to stay focused. Close your eyes if you feel like that's going to help you. Don't take too much notes. However, take notice of the details, of the small things. Now for the speaking section, from what I can remember, the first one, you have to speak about a familiar topic. They could ask you describe the place you like to go and why you like to go there, or describe your favorite activity and why do you like to do that. When you get the topic, you have about 20 seconds to prepare for the topic, and you have 45 seconds to say what you need to say about the topic. So that means you don't really have time to panic, to freak out, and to go, I'm so sorry, let me start again, something like that. You have to try to be 100% focused, and it's very good to do a lot of mock tests on the speaking section so that you can be more confident when you speak. So there are a few general tips I can give you on the speaking section. Number 1 is that you must have clear speech. So if you like to mumble and if you naturally have very soft voice, practice a lot to speak clearly and to speak louder. Train yourself to do that. And another thing is that you have to sound confident, because if yourself is not sure about what you're talking about, that will come through in your voice. Confidence is one of the things that they look at when they mark your speaking. Okay, back to the familiar topic. If the familiar topic that they gave you is not very familiar to you, for example, if they ask you what is your favorite book to read and why, and you don't read books, it's not your thing, then how do you answer that? TOEFL doesn't want you to lie, but what do you do in this situation? You have to just imagine yourself as someone who reads books. You might have heard someone, you might have spoken to a friend who spoke about a really good book and why she likes it, or you just have to be creative and come up with the answer as if you have really experienced it. And the second topic they might ask you to speak about, it is usually a campus situation. So you would read a passage that could be a announcement on the newsletter of the campus or the local newspaper, and you would listen to a conversation between 2 people discussing this situation, and they usually ask you to summarize what the situation is and what solutions have these 2 people spoke about, and which solution do you think is better and why. I think you have about 15 to 20 seconds to prepare for it and 60 seconds to speak all of that. for me personally, I found myself spending way too much time summarizing the situation. I had about 15 seconds less to give my own opinion, so I had to speak very fast for that. A really good template that I got on the internet is to start by introducing summarizing the situation briefly, and then summarize the options briefly. Give yourself about 20 seconds or more to give your opinion on which option you would choose and why. Also, the last thing I would like to mention is that when you're speaking, try not to give too much empty content. That would be just introducing the situation for too long, which I did. I'm not too sure if that's why they took 2 marks away from my speaking. The last topic for the speaking section, the topic would be an academic one. For example, they would give you a reading material, and then you would also listen to a short lecture on the topic. And then you will speak about this topic. The last section is writing section, and you will be writing 2 essays. I thought I would score very well in this section because firstly, I've written scientific articles, I've written essays, I've written short stories, and I only scored 24 out of 30. It's still a high score, but not as good as I expected. The first essay, there was a reading material which I had to read, and I also listened to part of the lecture. They would ask you to introduce the topic, they would ask you to explain how the lecture supports or contradicts the points that was made in the reading material. I also found quite a good template online to use for the first essay. So you start by giving a direct statement. So the lecture spoke about blah blah blah. It is important to give examples and details, and also it is important to mention why the lecture contradicts or supports the reading passage, and you have to say that. And then you have to give a conclusion for the essay as well, to make sure that you have a good structure. Another tip that I got on the internet is to always exceed the word count. If they ask you to write 300 words, try to write 350 to 400 words, because they will not penalize you for writing too much, I guess, and you definitely wouldn't have time to write 2,000 words. So try to exceed the word count, because in that way you will be able to build more content for your essay. And another tip that I could give is try to avoid repetition. I think I probably used a little bit too much repetition in my essay. And the last one is to try to avoid giving points that's not related to the main topic. So don't ever stray away from the topic. If they ask you for your personal opinion, just try not to stray away from the topic, because you'll also be penalized for that. Okay, I think that is all for now. If I think of anything else, I will write it in my next blog post or in the comments, so just keep an eye for that. And good luck to everyone who's writing the TOEFL soon, or preparing for it, or thinking about it. It's really okay. Just don't freak out, don't think too much, try not to be too nervous. You'll be fine. Pop me a message or email if you have any questions, if you want to know more about the test and how it works. Thank you very much for watching.